What we have here is an example of two big hitting e-mountain bikes. One an E-Enduro bike, the other a gravity-focused shuttle style e-mountain bike. But what are the differences between the two, and what type of bike should you choose for the type of riding you do? So let's start at the beginning, shall we? What exactly makes an E-Enduro bike an E-Enduro bike? And what the heck is a shuttle bike?
Well, as with many things, we do have to talk in generalizations about these things, because let's face it, one brand's idea of E-Enduro will be different to another brand's, and the same too goes for E-Shuttle. But ultimately, there is no one-size-fits-all solution to this. And whilst generalizations aren't ideal, nonetheless, they do give you an idea of what a bike is about. In the terms of E-Enduro, it's about a bit of trail riding, a bit of uphill, downhill, and generally cutting loose and exploring new lands.
In the E-Shuttle bike, well, that's designed for riders who want to get the laps in the local bike park, taking on those bigger hits. It's bigger, it's longer and slacker than the E-Enduro bike, and it's great for those riders who want to get out there and hit those free ride lines too. And the great news about this bike is willing to take you to the top of that trail over and over again.
Niner have launched their very first e-mountain bikes, and guess what? They wanted us to see how these Colorado nuggets got on with some Welsh gold. So, with no time to lose, we've headed to the hills. So, we have the RIP and the WFO. Now, the RIP is built for midweek sessions and day-long excursions, ripping the single track.
And the WFO stands for wide freaking open, designed for big hits and steep backcountry lines. And I know a few of those, Steve.
Ah, the backcountry lines. I think we'll find those up there.
A real treat for you coming up, Steve.
So, the RIP E9, 160mm front and 150mm on the rear. Full alloy chassis and wheels, 29-inch wheels by the way. Now obviously, many of you will want to know about the motor. Now the heart of the bike is the new Bosch Performance CX motor with the 85 Nm update, plus of course, extended boost mode, which means you can get up to those technical sections a lot easier. 625 watt-hour battery, 25 kilos in weight and 5,999 euros.
So this is the Niner WFO E9. It's a 180mm travel bike front and rear. It's running a 29-inch wheel up front with a 27.5 out back. Battery-wise, 625 watt-hour internal battery, powering the Bosch Performance Line CX motor. Now this bike weighs in at 25 kilos and is coming in at 6,499 euros.
Right, let's talk about wheel size. Now, why is there different wheel sizes on these two bikes? Well, let's begin with the RIP E9 here, which has 29-inch wheels, front and rear. Now, the great thing about this wheel size is that it's great for confidence and also speed, because if you think about it, when you're out on your E-Enduro bike, a lot of the time you're going to be riding trails which are unknown and unseen. So the larger diameter wheel has got a better rollover, which means when you're hitting those rocks on those routes, you can move through the ground a little bit easier. And what about the WFO, the bike ridden by Chris, although Don't know where Chris has got to. Now, the Shuttle bike has actually got a 27.5-inch wheel on the rear and a 29-inch up front. Now, we've already spoken about the benefits of 29-inch wheel bikes. They're better on cambers and they can't be bullied as much offline compared to 27.5-inch wheel bike. But one of the main advantages of 27.5 is the fact they can be really snapped into corners. They're a little bit easier, and also you can get your bum over the back of the bike, particularly on those steep descents, and in that respect they're a little bit easier to ride in steep terrain than a 29-inch front and rear. Now remember, it's not just the wheels, but it's the tyres that are mounted to those wheels which count as well. Now on the WFO Shuttle bike, there is a big burly 2.8 tyre on the back of that, which is great for technical climbs and also when you're manoeuvring through that big beaten up terrain. Now remember, wheels and tyres are just part of the picture, because you can have great handling bikes in 26-inch, 27.5 and 29-inch wheel varieties, because ultimately it comes down to so many other factors such as geometry, as componentry, and also the suspension kinematic on that bike. So don't get hung up with wheel size alone.
Right, here we are, Steve, Black Mountain Cycle Centre, one of the best bike parks in the country. Oh, black, red, blue.
Nah, you got the wrong idea.
Really?
We've come right in the Black Mountains, not the Black Mountain Trail Centre.
Ah, well, you go off on the hills then.
Chris,
I'm hitting the bike park.
I think you'll find it's closed. Anyway, we've got no time. We've got no time for that.
I've checked, it's open. Let's go.
So, two impressive options then. And as I mentioned, Nina wanted us to attempt to answer the question of which one is for you. Now, I've got the RIP, Chris has got the WFO down in the bike park. So what's it about? Is it about travel? Is it about wheel size? Is it about coil versus air? Or is it about something far more subtle? The Black Mountain, wild, imposing valleys that were once the very end of the Welsh ice cap, however many thousand years ago. Disorderly terrain at its best, sheep at their most unruly. The perfect place then to set two free spirits loose. So an E-Enduro bike isn't actually that much different to an eMTB trail bike as you might think. We're looking at 150 to 160 mil travel on the rear and 160, 170 up front, which is going to tackle those burlier descents that are a little bit easier. No doubt it'll probably have air-sprung travel front and rear too, with low and slack geometry, wide bars and a short stem to aid control. A long travel dropper post to get the seat firmly out of the way when things get rowdy and up again for efficient climbing. And wider and tougher tyre casings to protect the rims and minimise punctures.
Red or black? Gotta be black. A shuttle bike, on the other hand, is a very different beast compared to that mid-travel e-mountain bike. With longer travel, around 180 millimeters of generally coil-sprung travel on the rear, e-shuttle bikes can come with either a long travel single crown fork or a downhill style triple clamp up front. Mixed wheels or 27.5 front and rear, both with wide and tough tyre casings, super wide bars, big powerful brakes, and 220mm rotors for maximum braking power. Given their bigger, burlier DNA, they're generally also heavier than E-Enduro bikes. But although they look like an acoustic downhill or freeride bike, looks are deceptive. power of a motor, steep seat tube angles, and long dropper seat posts, shuttle bikes will take you up even the most longest and most techie climbs so you can access them and charge the downs.
So, which bike to choose, folks? Well, it's an incredibly difficult question. It all comes down to your priorities, where you ride, or what you want to ride. Now, it's true that an E-Enduro bike will do some pretty serious descents, and an E-Shuttle bike, yes, it is capable of some pretty technical climbing. It's true that both bikes can go big and they can go far. The secret is knowing whether you want an all-rounder or a specialist bike. If you answer that question, you're going to be well on the road to finding your bike.
Like Steve, you want to head into the hills for a bit of adventure and adrenaline, then the E-Enduro bike is definitely the bike for you. It's capable of tackling tech descents as well as climbing the biggest mountains, or maybe even taking on an E-Enduro race. The E-Enduro can definitely do it all.
Or if, like Chris, you're all about sessioning the downs and the biggest, baddest descents in the bike park or the backcountry, and pushing your limits on freeride lines and gravity trails, with the climb back up being the means to your gravity ends, then a bigger E-Shuttle bike is more likely the right choice.
Sure which e-bike is right for you? Well, get along to a demo day or maybe borrow your friend's bike and get out there and try and find the right one for you. We've also got lots of videos here on EMBN which are going to help you make up your mind too.
Hey, Chrissy!
Yo, Steve, you alright?
How was the day?
It was good. I've been wide freaking open all day long on this thing. It's been amazing. How about you?
Well, I've been RIPing it, ripping the single track. And to be honest with you, I don't think, we asked the question about which bike would you choose. I'm totally sold on this one.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think it's great to see a new brand in the mix.
Definitely. It is
from
good to see
Fort
this, guys.
Collins in Colorado.
Definitely.
And I like the sound of their lifestyle out there. I think we need to pay them a visit.
Yeah, it does sound right our style, doesn't it?
But what is it? Does it come down to coil versus air?
I'm all about the coil on this bike. I think for those big hits today at the bike park, that just gave such good feedback from the trail the whole way down. Yeah, I'm into the air shock, but for me, the coil takes it.
But the 29-inch wheels, if you're trail riding, enduro riding, exploring mountains like we have been today, I think this is a great choice. But I think you're right. Big hits like you do. They were big hits too.
They were huge. Big hits, big days out.
Yeah.
I think, it's a pretty capable bike, isn't it?
So guys, let us know what you think. What bike do you ride? Do you ride 160? Do you ride 150, 180, 200? It's, let's face it, we're talking the height of a 20 pence piece in the UK, difference in travel. So there's not really much in it. A lot of similarities between the two bikes. And let us know your comments. Chris?
Yep. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and give us a find and a follow on social media too. Cheers for watching.
A what and a follow?
A like and a follow.
All right, nice.
Grandad.